Hi everybody, I'm Jennifer Tryon, and today we are going Serger versus the Coverhem. You know what? It's not a battle. You should use them both together. There's no fighting Serger versus Coverhem. These two are a cohesive unit. And to prove it, we're gonna make leggings today. Because usually when you're using the Serger, you can use the Coverhem at the same time, not at the same time, but for the same project, and it's really going to finish things off super, super nicely. So I wanted to jump on here today because we've got, I'm forever making leggings for the kids because honestly they grow out of them and they put the knees out of them, and they are super fast and easy to make, but they need to be stretchy, they need to be comfy, and they need to be able to withstand the wrath of the child at recess. I mean, this is the real job of leggings. I don't want the seams to split. I don't want, things coming apart. If they put the knees out of them, well, that's on the material, but at least the sewing can hold the test of time, and it really can. We're going to talk today about the surged stitch, which is this stitch right here. This is the inside of the leggings. It gives you that nice overlocked stitch. And then the Coverhem, what it does is on the outside maintains the stretch also, but gives you that row of nice stitches and then that overlocked stitch on the inside. So that's the difference between the Coverhem machine and the Serger. That Serger primarily you're going to use on the inside of your clothes, and the Coverhem is going to help you finish the outside, and it's going to look much more store-bought than a zigzag stitch or a stretch stitch from your sewing machine. In fact, I would wager a guess that if you have a Serger and a Coverhem, if you are making anything with knits, that you won't use your regular sewing machine at all. I definitely don't. I use my regular sewing machine for all kinds of things, but definitely not when working with knits. These are the two machines that work hand in hand. And typically I see people start with the Serger and then work their way up to the Coverhem. And that I would say would be the natural order of things, because these machines are expensive and an investment. But boy, is it nice to be outfitted when you've got it. So the Serger that I'm working on or with today is the Janome Air Thread Serger. And it's really just a dream because people hesitate to use a Serger because it's difficult to thread them. And it's not impossible. And actually, it's not really that hard. It's just a little more time consuming than threading your regular sewing machine, because you've got two loopers and two needles. So there's more things to do and you kind of have to get in there. What the Air Thread Serger lets you do is you don't have to do all of that fiddling, into the guts of the machine. You just pull the lever and it threads the machine for you, which is honestly, if you have an older model Serger, you'll know what I mean about this being a real luxury. So this is the Air Thread Serger. It opens from both sides. It's got a very big sewing platform. It really is a beautiful ride when it comes to Sergers. I'm going to show you how to thread this. I did a little video on my YouTube channel not that long ago on threading the Air Thread Serger. So I'm just going to show it to you because it shows you exactly how to thread it, and then I won't rethread this one. All right, ready? For try on. And this is the Janome Air Thread Serger. I'm going to show you how this thing works. Come on in. Okay, before I thread my first thread, I want to make sure I'm in lock mode. So I'm going to flick the switch here, turn the handle, and you hear that click. Now the machine's not going anywhere. It's locked and ready to thread. I'm going to choose my lower looper or my upper looper, whichever one I want to thread first. The dial is towards the lower looper. So I'm going to show you a different color thread, but this is your lower looper. You're going to bring it right through, has the slide in bearings here. You're going to bring it down, and now I'm going to take this thread and just tuck this thread right down into that air chamber, this little hole right here. Make sure about 1 inch of thread gets pushed down in there. And you also want to make sure you have enough of a tail here, because all of this thread is going to get loaded through with air. Now I'm just gonna lift the lever when it clicks and then push it down. See how it sucks it right through? Cool, right? Okay, for the upper looper, same thing, but I want to switch the switch to upper. Then I'm going to grab my second spool, which is the upper looper thread, bring it down the chamber below the little hook. I'm going to make sure I have a nice blunt, freshly cut edge and just put it right down into the second air chamber. Make sure I've got a good length dangling. Lift the lever. I know, right? It's so easy and so fast. And then the other two, the needles, down through the tension discs. It can make its way over, up and around. For the right needle, it stays on the right side, but goes behind that little arm. And then I can bring down the needle threader, wrap it around, make sure the thread goes under the hook, and then just lift up, and there, the needle's threaded. And all you have to do is pull this loop. Threaded. Same with this side. Pull it through the telescope, nice and high, down through the tension disc, up and around. Keep it on the left side. It needs to go behind that bar. And then the needle threader, I want to push it over to left, since it's the left needle I'm threading now, and then bring it down. Lift it up, threaded. Just pull. That was super easy. And before you start sewing, you want to switch it out of lock mode into serging mode. Make sure you put your presser foot back down and that all your threads are facing to the back left. So if you've ever felt intimidated by threading a serger, the air thread serger is for you. It couldn't be easier. So pretty cool how it just shoots the thread right through those looper holes. You're not having to thread anything with the tweezers or do any of that. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So we are going to have both of these machines on TSC at the end. Oh, I'm getting my scissors. At the end of the week. Sunday night and Monday are the sewing shows on the shopping channel in Canada. If you're wanting to tune in for some sewing inspiration, there's going to be lots of like good sewing deals on machines and thread and sewing furniture. And of course, these are the machines that we're going to have on. So yes, we've got the air thread serger, we've got the Coverhem machine that I've been talking about, and we've got the Janome 9850. That's a sewing and embroidery machine. And we've also got just a few of the Janome Skyline S9. So if that's something that you've been holding off on or wanting the Janome S9, I think they've only got about 30 for the whole country because it's not the main machine of the day. The 9850 is the main machine of the day along with the air thread serger and the Coverhem. So the Skyline's kind of a bonus if you want to get a hold of that. But I'm going to demo how you use the serger now that I've showed you how to thread it. I've got Tamara who's on the Facebook Live with me here. If you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments and she will shout them out to me. Because yeah, if you have questions, I want to answer them along the way. All right, I said we were going to make leggings, and so I've already cut them out. I've cut out a bunch of pairs because honestly, when you're cutting stuff out, just do, and there's things like this, do a bunch at once. And you know, leggings can be kind of boring. So I thought maybe I'll just zhuzh it up a little bit because it will help me show you some different things you can do with the Coverhem machine. And so I'm thinking of putting a patch on the front. I did it on one already, but I'll do it on the second one. On the front of the, on the knee of the leggings. So these are little capri ones that are better for spring and summer. And so that's about where the knee falls. So I'm going to just show you how I did this. I'm taking just a scrap piece of stretch material and I've got just Heat and Bond Ultra. If you have light, that's fine too. But basically what this does, you use it in applique. And that's kind of what putting a patch on really is. And I know we're talking about making leggings, and we're kind of going off course a little, but I just wanted to show you how cool it is. And then I'm going to reverse cover stitch all the way around this, so you kind of get that cool like yoga wear look that's super popular and expensive. So I know my girls will like that. All right, so I'm just going to iron this onto the back of the knit. Don't over iron your your stabilizer there, because the glue I find sometimes melts right off or melts right into it and then it doesn't stick anymore. So I'm going to make sure I cut this exactly the right size. I've got my tiny little mat. Anyone who was at Homemade, the virtual sewing event that we just had, will have gotten one of these in their box, these little cute Olfa mats, which are handy to not have to break out your giant mats. So awesome. So I'm just going to cut like a 4x4 or 5x5, and I think it's 4x5 inch patch. That's what I did on the last one. So make sure here. So how's everyone doing today? Where are you all tuning in from? I always like knowing where people are watching from. If you're first time tuning in to me, I'm in Toronto, Canada, and yeah, you're catching me in my sewing room. And I love doing these lives before we've got big shows, because often when we're on the air, there's only so much time to talk about what you need to talk about. And there's not, I mean, sometimes people call in, but there certainly isn't time to answer anything that you want to ask. If you've been wondering, you know, do I really need this? What's the difference between this and that? So I like doing these things ahead of time so that if you do have any questions, you know, you've got plenty of time to ask them. And you can leave your question in the feed too, and I'll watch for it and get back. All right, this is super cute. Make sure I'm square here. Tamara, how's everyone doing out there?
They're good, they're good. We have a few people from the US and from Canada.
That's great.
Ottawa, Texas, Vermont.
Awesome.
Oh, Markham.
Yay. Do we know them?
Selena.
Selena. Hi, Selena. Selena was in our Homemade event. If you're tuning in, you don't know what I'm talking about, our Homemade events. We do like a virtual sewing weekend, and we've got one coming up. The registration is going to open again for it. And basically, it's a weekend where we send you all of the stuff that you need to make a bunch of different sewing projects, and we make them all together throughout the whole weekend. And everybody gets a big box of supplies. It's kind of like a big sewing party. So it's pretty fun. And I can leave a link if you're wanting to sign up because the spots go quick. All right, let's make sure this is...
There are some names I recognize from the event.
Oh, good. All right, I'm just going to make sure this goes on the front. Yeah, that's the back. So this side is the front, and about 2 inches up is what I kind of figured was the placement for the... Why don't I go like this? This is probably a better thing to do. That way, at least if they're off, they're both off. No, because this is going to be the opposite side. So maybe I can't do that. I'm just figuring this out as I go, you guys. Hold on. All right, I'll just do it based on the measurement. Has anyone ever made leggings before? Once you start making them, even for yourself, they're so quick and easy, like pajama pants, anything like that, where you can get nice soft knit fabric. Sweatshirts, t-shirts, all of those are pretty easy to make when you've got a serger and a Coverhem machine. Now you don't need the Coverhem machine. Well, you can use your regular sewing machine too, but it really does make it a lot easier. Yeah, about 1 inch over. So now I'm just peeling off the back from that heat and bond. And this is gonna stick right to the fabric. That way when I sew it, I'm not just relying on the threads to keep it in place. Similar to an applique. So we're gonna go about 2 inches up. There we go. And it doesn't need tons of heat to stick, like just enough. And dry iron works best. And so normally you wouldn't start with the Coverhem machine, but I am going to start with the Coverhem because I'm going to reverse Coverhem. I'm basically getting to all of the fancy hard stuff first, and then I'm going to show you the basics of just assembling the leggings. But the fact is, if you want to put the patch on, you really should do it at the beginning. Otherwise, you've got this leg tube, and it's much, much harder to sew on. So you have to kind of think about these things beforehand so that it's a bit easier. All right, so I've got my two sides of my pants. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the Coverhem machine. And normally, if I was doing just a straight around stitch on the Coverhem, like I've done here on the cuff, I would just put it on the machine like I would a regular sewing machine, and it would sew this on the top. But what I want for a reverse Coverhem is that look from the bottom. So I actually have to take this and flip it over and then stitch on top of it. So if I'm taking it here, and this is my patch, I'm going to flip it so that it's upside down, and I am going to have to kind of feel my way around. So I will say that that is a tricky part about working with the Coverhem, is that you need to use your fingers and really work your way around and feel where you're stitching. Okay, here we go. And here's my biggest tip. When you're using the Coverhem machine, sew with confidence. Even if you're scared, you gotta sew with the purpose, because I find the slower you sew on the Coverhem, the greater the chance you will skip stitches or something will break. So just go for it. Now I can feel I'm at the end of my patch, so I'm lifting it up, and it's not like a sewing machine where you can pivot with the needle down because there's 3 needles in here. I'm gonna just gently turn it. And carry on. Okay, I can feel I'm at the end. I'm gonna again lift up my presser foot and gently turn it. Make sure that everything's lying. And now, hopefully you can see, I'm just sort of, see how it's trimming out the side of the patch with that overlocked look? That's reverse Coverhem. So I haven't done there yet. That's where it's going to meet at the end. All right, let's keep going. Is anyone's mind blown? Is anyone like, huh, I didn't know? The reverse Coverhem is very, very cool. And apart from the fact that you have to work upside down, it's relatively easy. Okay, and I'm just basically making the square here. So now I'm about to come back to where I started. I'm going to just tie these off because I don't want these to come out. Coverhem stitches can unravel pretty easily if you get a hold of the right string. So I'm just going to snip those. If I can find my, there they are. And then there are 3 notches on the Coverhem presser foot, and you want to kind of line those notches up with your threads, and you want to sew over just the first couple so they're locking in. So I can see that those are now lined up. So gonna go over that a little bit. And now the key to locking off on the cover hem is to roll the wheel towards you, and then, which is a no-no in regular sewing, but with the cover hem, roll it away from you until it clicks and comes back up. Then you want to lift up the presser foot. Now remember this, if you're not looking at the screen, come and look. Take something long and thin and put it underneath the presser foot and pull those threads toward you, all of them. And then snip the thread. Don't pull it out like a regular sewing machine right away. You have to do that step first if you want it to lock in place. Then you can pull it back, and then you can snip the thread with the knife on the side. And then that's going to lock those into place. And now I've got the patch totally outlined with my cover hem stitch, which really looks kind of cool. Very different look, not something that you would assume was like homemade. Looks kind of boutique-y, especially if you can choose a funky fabric like that. And so yeah, we can do that to both sides. I'll just do it to the one because I want to get to the serger so that you really get an idea of how the leggings come together using both machines. Oh, maybe I should do that, then it'll be done. Okay, I'll do it. I don't want to cut corners. I know you don't want to watch everything, but I do make things for real, and if I sew them together without finishing this, then one side will have it done and the other one won't. So I'll just hurry through this. You know what hurrying is a recipe for, right? Disaster. I should just take my time and do it properly. No one's ever sorry they took their time and did it properly. It really isn't going to take that much longer. Maybe I'll take a picture and post it on Instagram, whichever child snags these leggings first. Sometimes there's I want them. So hopefully you're following me on Instagram and you've subscribed to my YouTube channel. That's where you saw the video of me threading the air thread serger. I try to put stuff up there pretty regularly, especially if I've got if I've done a TV segment like on Global on the morning show, or if we've just done a pretty cool project and I want to post it, that's where you can find them all. There's a huge bank of craft and sewing videos there, so hopefully you can subscribe. And definitely follow on Instagram, because that's where just all the daily crafty hijinks gets posted. Okay. Put the presser foot down, Jen, that'd help. Okay. Now I'm lining up again that row of 3 stitches with the 3 notches. Now I'm coming towards me and then wheeling back, because that's the idea. Wheel back until the needles are up, then presser foot up. Take something skinny like your snips or the screwdriver or tweezers, pull those threads towards you, snip, then pull it back. And then that locks those stitches into place. And good. Now this one's all framed out too. There, I didn't cut any corners, even though I really did want to. Sometimes sewing live makes you want to skip ahead, but you know, like I said, I really do sew these for the actual kids to wear, and usually when I'm done with them on the show. So I do want to make sure that they hold up. All right, just knotting those in and then giving it a snip. Okay, we're ready for the serger, although we will come back to the Coverhem machine at the very end when we're finishing off. But for now, we are ready to basically show you how fast it is to assemble leggings. So when you've got them cut out, they kind of look like this. Most legging patterns look like this. You fold it in half, and this here is what will be like the crotch, this little like loop up here. we're just going to sew the leg part first. So that's what I'm going to do. Line it up best I can. If you need to pin. Helps keep things lined up, or even clips. Just don't sew over them with the serger, because it's almost even worse sewing over a pin with your serger, because, especially if your knife is activated, because then that's like metal crunching through metal, and that'll really cause problems. So try not to run over your pins. We've all done it, but try not to. How are we doing out there, Tamara?
Okay, everybody I think is just enjoying watching.
Oh yes, well everyone's just
No
asleep at the
questions
wheel,
yet.
myself included. Let's just sit back and see if she can actually make these leggings while talking to us. You know, sometimes it is a struggle. If you've ever had someone like come in your sewing space while you're in the middle of trying to do something, you'll know that sometimes gabbing while sewing, you know, it doesn't lead to the straightest seams, let's just say, sometimes. All right, I got a couple pins in there, pretty good. So I'm bringing this to the serger. What's happening up here? Nice and, seems a little knotted. You do want to make sure with your serger things stay nice and neat the way they're supposed to. Sometimes you walk by and you can grab something. Just make sure that your thread, there's no knots, because that's when things start to go wrong. You'll notice these cool little serger cones. We're going to have these. I'm going to show you the whole box, because if you have a serger already, we're going to have this bundle of thread on TSC. These are the Aerolock, the premium serger thread. So you can use this in the serger or the Coverhem. And look, I'm using the white here. There's two sets of white, like an off-white, light gray, which I've already got on the Coverhem, dark gray, and black, which is honestly 9 times out of 10 all the colors you need, and you're getting all 4 spools. And this is a really good quality thread. I really like this, like having all of those neutral colors in all 4 spools. So that's kind of a good one. All right, so with my seams lined up, my serger's ready and on and threaded. You're keeping your tension at about 3. I've got my differential feed and my stitch length at 3 and 1. So we're pretty good to go. Test it out if you're, I did beforehand to make sure that it was going to sew this fabric. And now remember, when you're serging, it's going to cut as it sews. So this, this seam here is going to be nice and straight, because any little jaggedy edge that, you know, I kind of didn't get perfect in cutting, the serger is going to take care of, because you can see this whole bit kind of coming. And of course, this serger has the tray on the side, so it's gathering up all that waste. And with the serger, you sew right off, and then you cut the thread, not like a regular sewing machine. All right, so we'll trim that, and trim the bottom. Those will get locked in the seam. And so now we've got like one leg, and it's nice and serged. I'm going to show you that stitch, because it is a really beautiful stitch. It's hard to see the white on the light green, but you know, it maintains that stretch so beautifully that a regular sewing machine just can't do. All right, let's do the next leg, because literally you just sew the 2 legs. Oh yeah. Now they're covered in thread. Dropped them on the floor. Once you sew up the leg, there's really not much more to putting them together. Put a couple pins. And knits tend to roll, which is why even if you're, you know, experienced, you sometimes still want to put some pins in, just because there's nothing worse than, like, you know, you go up the seam and you've inadvertently sewn over, serged over a fold. That's the worst. So pinning does help avoid that. So I tend to like lift up the presser foot just with my thumb there and then get it going. The serger is super fast, like way faster than your regular sewing machine. I think it's like 1,200 stitches per minute. And because it's finishing the seam at the same time, it really is a time saver just using the serger. Go ahead, just say.
And Lori has a question about what fabric you're using.
So this is just a jersey knit, cotton, 100% cotton jersey, super stretchy in both directions, great for leggings. So let's make sure this patch isn't on.
Where do you buy your knits from?
Oh gosh, all over. Knits are expensive, and so, oh yes, I put this, look at this, you guys. One patch is on the front and one patch is on the back. Yay!
That makes it cute.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it make it cute? Or does it make it wrong? Whatever, I'll still put them together. Okay, so when you're putting the leggings together, one side has to be inside out and one side has to be right side out. And the two good sides have to be facing each other. So we've got one tube like this. And this one's right side out. And then one tube like this. And now I'm going to put one inside the other. Oh, stupid patches. Trying to be cute and make it look nice and show the reverse cover stitch. That's what serves me right. See what I mean about talking and not paying attention? And oh well, that's fine. We can fix it after. All right, so I've got my seams exactly the same here. So right sides touching right sides, and I'm going to make sure that this really gets pinned. Like I'm going to nest that seam even, so the quilters will know what that means. Where like the edge of one seam is butting against the edge of the other seam, and I'm just going to put a pin right in the center there. And then bring this up. Maybe these pants will just be a one-legged patch pant, and I'll just snip the other one off. Good thing I ironed it right on with the heat and bond, huh? So it really wouldn't move and would withstand the schoolyard. If you guys heard me say that at the beginning, right? We'll figure it out. It's okay. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to serge around this whole loop. Last pin. And it's okay if your ends don't meet up at the waist. They will when the band goes on, and can work all that out. Okay. So now I'm just going around that whole crotch loop. Okay, so now your pants are sewn together, and you can basically just turn them right side out now. And there's the one patch on the one side and, you know, not on the other. Whatever, that's fine. Okay, so I think this might also be because this is the back of the fabric and this is the front, but maybe that's... So now what we need to do is basically do the waistband and the cuff. So I've got some cuff material here, which I love these cuffs. You can buy cuffs, you know, they're actual cuffs, but raw. So that, and you can buy them by the meter so that you can add cuffs, cute cuffs to whatever you want. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I only have this much left, but I really wanna make sure I use it all and that I can stretch it the farthest. So I'm gonna use it on the pant leg and I'm gonna stretch it to make sure it fits like across that whole thing. And that's gonna basically make the last use of that so cute rainbow cuff. So that every bit gets used, I'm gonna make sure I'm folding it and I'm just gonna cut it in half here. And then I'm gonna serge up the cuff before I install it on the leg of the pants. Okay, serge up the other side. Snip and snip. Where do I buy my knit fabrics? That is a good question. In Canada, I order a lot from, is it called Simplify? Simplify. That's where I got a lot of this and these cuffs. They've got really super cute stuff. I order from Funky Monkey. Where else do I order from? Sometimes I get it when I'm in the States, like at Joann's, but that's been a while since we've done any traveling. Okay, with your pants inside out, I want to make sure I do this right. So turn your cuff inside out, and then again, like a tube, you want the raw edge to touch the raw edge. So one's going inside the other. Wait a second here. I think this needs to go inside here. Yes. And I basically am going to want to stretch that cuff to match the width of the legging. And I'm going to put the seams together. So I'll use a pin on the seam so that that will be my sort of home base. And now look how much bigger the leg is than the cuff. So I really do need to stretch that while I'm sewing. So bringing this to the serger. What I will say about your knits, if you're buying them, is when you get them home, wash them and shrink them, because sometimes they shrink a lot more than you expect. And it can really throw off your whole pattern because they will shrink. I haven't met one yet that didn't. So make sure you wash. I usually wash in like the harshest conditions, fully dry them in the dryer, and so that they really shrink up. See how I'm stretching this? Am I blocking too much? I'm just stretching it as I go so that the cuff basically is filling all. And now watch how cute this is. Please work. It's always the reveal. See? So that's a cute little capri cuff right on the pants. I think these patches were a bad idea now. I think I'm just gonna have to totally take these patches off. I think the legging, the cuff speaks for itself and that the patch just has to go. So let's pretend it's gonna go. It's right here.
Lori's asking, where do you source patterns for your leggings and knit garments?
Yeah, so usually online. These ones are from Little Lizard Kings. They've got tons of patterns for, you know, kids, men and women. So check them out. I get a lot of patterns from Peekaboo Patterns. I can put a link up if that would be helpful. Because, yeah, and they usually come with tutorials. Sometimes they come with videos. Not always do they come with videos, but sometimes. And yeah, Peekaboo Patterns is one of my favorites for knits. You can also get lots of great knit fabrics on, I don't know if anyone ever visits like de-stash sites, but like there's lots of groups on Facebook called like Fabric De-stash, and I've ordered lots of knits from people who are getting rid of knits because they've ordered too much or they're just, you know, so that's kind of a good way to sometimes get a deal on knits, because knits, well, all fabric is expensive, but knits seem to be really up there these days. All right, same thing on the other side. Stretching that cuff. And you know, this is all stuff that if I was trying to do this on the regular sewing machine, just really would not work as well with a regular zigzag stitch. It just wouldn't. So here I think I needed to have stretched a little bit more at the beginning.
Carolyn's asking, would it have been easier to put the cuff on flat first and then sew it up the sides?
You know, you think that, but no, it really isn't. Oftentimes you can't get your ends to match up, and it's a little like askew like this at the end, so that's why we put them on after. Okay, so we've got these both on now. Apart from the disaster of the patch. Let's make it look like this. They look pretty cute. They look like, you know, kids' pajamas. They really do. But hey, let's make them kids' pajamas. Fine. That's all. It's all good. Okay, so next up is adding the elastic. And I'm just going to trim this off because we've got a little longer end here. And that's just because of the way I've sewn this, because the back's on the front. So you'll follow your pattern better than I just have, but this is how I'm going to remedy it. So you can see it's all kind of jaggedy here, but the serger is going to take care of this. So I've got some extra waist. Most legging patterns come with like a long waist here, because you're going to either add a band, which we could do like a yoga band. So for example, we've got some cut out of like a fabric like this. You could add, just the way we added the cuff, you could add a band, which probably would be cute on this. Let me just see here. Maybe we should do that. So you can add an elastic by either taking your elastic on the inside and folding it down, and you can serge right along the elastic, but I'm just going to add the yoga band because I think because we lost a little bit of that fabric up top, it's going to make the waist a little bit longer. So to do that, we're going to go wrong sides together, and we're going to basically make a tube just like we did the cuff. And I'm going to make a circle again. And I'm going to stitch just down. Make sure I don't have a fold in this.
Someone's requesting that you do some lives with just regular sewing machines
For sure.
soon, because she's looking on purchasing a new one.
So like no embroidery, no, just regular sewing. It's true. We always tend to do the fancy stuff. Okay, so now I've got this band, basically. And just like I did with the cuffs, I'm going to put it around. So I want raw edge against raw edge, and I'll line up that seam. Put a clip there. And if one seems a little larger than the other, that's okay. That's what's great about knits. Stretch the other one until it kind of meets. And you can see how like kind of jaggedy and not quite, you know, perfect these, see how this one's a little longer than that one? That's what's great about the serger. In the end, this is going to trim it and cut everything the same length. The Coverhem doesn't cut, just the serger does that. Okay. Remember the make sure your fabric isn't rolling too much. So I haven't added pins around the whole thing, so I really do need to make sure it's not rolling. Otherwise I'll end up with a hole.
How do you measure the length for a stretching waistband?
Usually you measure the waist and then you take off an inch or two so that it's a little, when you're using stretch fabric, so that you've got room for it to be snug and still expand. If you use your exact waist measurement, then it usually will fall down.
I don't want that.
Pants on me haven't fallen down lately, let's just say, but that's the general rule.
Jolene uses her serger mostly to reconfigure sweatshirts.
Oh, that's good. Upcycling is great when you've got tools like this. My husband teaches phys ed, and so he's constantly wearing like, you know, tearaway pants and like sports kind of clothes, and his t-shirts, like they get holes in them, and literally you just zip up the side of the serger, and you know, the serger is great for repairing. So now look, all those seams that were so jaggedy are now perfectly cut and finished. So now when we see this waistband, cute. Now, if it ends up being like a little too stretchy or a little too big, you could always go in and put a little tie through it, or an elastic for that matter, because you could open this up and put an elastic through if it was a little bit too long or a little bit too wide. But there you go. It doesn't take long to put stretch pants together. Now I could go across the top of my waistband here with my Coverhem. So to just get that finishing seam, I can pull off the free arm on the Coverhem even. So that gets removed. So if you're doing cuffs or anything like that, you can remove the free arm. and I'm going to remove it anyway. And this is just going to let me lay down that serge seam. And I'm actually, for this stitch, going to take out, do I have a little screwdriver? Tamara, will you grab one? Just the tiniest screwdriver you can find. Because what's cool about the cover hem is that you can do 1 stitch, 2 stitches, or 3 stitches. And 3 stitches doesn't necessarily work when you're finishing off a seam, because I kind of want there to be 1 thread on one color and 1 thread on the other. Thank you. So I'm going to actually remove the middle needle here. And literally that's all you have to do is remove the needle. And you can go from a 3 stitch to a 2 stitch that's wide. So that middle needle is now out. And now all I need to do is make sure I keep my two fabrics between the stitches, or between the needles, and then that way I'm going to get that nice row of straight stitches on either side, and still that stretch is going to be maintained.
Are Serger machines and CoverPros expensive?
Oh yeah, they are. I mean, I think these are going to be on sale on TSC. I think the Coverhem, they never tell me the price ahead of time because they reserve the right to change it. But I'm going to guess the regular price on the this serger is, I don't know, I think it's close to $2,000. Or sorry, I think that's going to be the sale price. But this Coverhem is going to be on a really great sale. I think it's going to be on something like about 800 bucks. This isn't the top of the line Coverhem, but it's not the entry model either. It's a really nice in the middle, high quality Coverhem, and I think it's going to be 40%, about 40. They usually do 40% off, 30 to 40% off. So that's a good savings. Plus, they're going to they usually do 12 payments, 6 or 12 monthly payments. So you can see here, now I've taken those stitches and put that on either side of the elastic band, those straight stitches, and then we've got that elasticity maintained in the back. To just sort of finish off the leggings around the waist where it needs that little extra support, where you kind of want it to lie nice and flat.
Is that the top of the line serger?
This is the top of the line serger for sure. I mean, this serger threads itself. So you don't get much better than that, really. This is a really, really great serger, but I gotta say, it operates like, if you can run a regular manual threading serger, you can totally operate this one. You don't need to have any sort of extensive serger knowledge to use this. It's just a nicer ride. I would it would be the difference between driving a K car and a Cadillac. They both drive. If you have a driver's license, you can drive it and you know how to drive. Just the ride on this is very smooth. It's got, like, you know, it threads itself. So that's what, you know, that's really what you're paying for sure, is that ease of use compared to having to manually thread it. So when I mean, for the most part, you do keep your serger threaded. Like, that's why I showed you that box of those neutral thread colors that are going to be available, because when you can keep your machines threaded in a neutral color, you tend to just keep using that color over and over. But there are times you need to change it out, like you need to put a black in or a navy or something like that. and you don't want to not do that because it's so cumbersome to have to thread it. So that's what's really nice about this machine. It's a good, solid workhorse machine with the bells and whistles of being able to thread itself. So you won't be sorry, and it's going to be close to 30-40% off, which is great, and you can spread those payments out over a year. So yeah, that's going to be Sunday night and Monday on the shopping channel in Canada. We'll have both of these machines. We'll also have two dual sewing and embroidery machines, the Janome Skyline S9. There will be a very limited quantity of, but then we're also going to have, as the main item of the day, the Janome 9850, which is also a dual sewing and embroidery machine. And the difference there between those two, there's probably about $1,000 price difference between the two. The top one is a little bit of a smaller footprint, more the size of a regular sewing machine, but it is a high-end sewing machine too. And the Janome S9, the machine on the bottom right, is got a bigger footprint. It also has Wi-Fi, so you can send your embroidery designs or whatever stitches that you've downloaded, say from the computer, directly from your iPad or your computer right to your machine, which is kind of fancy and sounds complicated, but really makes life pretty easy. But the other one, you can totally download designs and everything too. Also, you just use your USB stick. There's just no Wi-Fi, but that'll save you about $1,000, which is great. So anybody who's looking to upgrade and have a high-end sewing machine and wants embroidery capability too, that Janome 9850 is going to be a good deal. And if you're wanting to use knits more and maybe make some clothing, some pajamas, stuff with some stretchier material, or you want to use wovens and you're sick of it unraveling, the Serger is the way to go. And if you want to finish those seams, you can't beat the Coverhem. In fact, you'll be if you went for everything we had, all those machines on TSC, you wouldn't have to buy another machine for life. You'd be outfitted. You'd have the sewing, embroidery, Serger, and Coverhem all in one go. Oh my gosh, that would be awesome. Okay, any final questions before we wrap it up, Tamara?
Well, Tammy would like you to go to HSN to sell the air threader.
Yes. We are on HSN. In fact, we've got a Facebook Live coming up on HSN next week. I think it's the 20th. And there will be a machine associated with that they've asked me to make a project for, and I'm going to do a Facebook Live with them. But maybe we could work on them and let them know we want the air thread serger in the US too. Feel free to write HSN and tell them. Good idea. I like that idea. Anything else there, Tamara?
So Leslie just wants explanation again with the serger. So she's never used a serger. What does it do, or does it just finish seams, or?
Yeah, the serger really is responsible for the inside of your clothing and giving you this overlock stitch. But it's not the only thing the serger can do. The serger, I don't know, Tamara, do we have a rolled hem over there in the we've got like a closet over here of all the projects that we make and sometimes show examples of. The serger will also do gathering. So if you need to bunch something up and you don't want to be doing a basting stitch, the serger can do that. The rolled hem, for example, looks like this on the edge of a napkin. If you want to get that real tight look, like on the edge of napkins or tablecloths, or finishing a skirt or something like that with that rolled hem, that's also what the serger can do. That's really pretty cool, especially coming into summer for if you want to do your own like outdoor napkins and things like that. You can get some cute outdoor fabrics. We did a napkin ring with the rolled hem along the edge, and then the contrasting rolled hem along the napkin. So that's what the serger can do too, but primarily what you use the serger for is that overlock stitch. And if you were using a woven, that black and white infinity scarf, I think it's sitting in there. If you had a woven fabric, one that was thick and a winter fabric, and it was starting to unravel in the wash, or if you were using a regular sewing machine on a woven, it really would start to unravel. We see this sometimes when you're doing sewing with upholstery. if you were doing cushions, you get this. See how this fabric doesn't have any stretch at all, but it does start to fray like this along the edges. So what the serger does when you take this end is it encapsulates all of this and now just look at the difference that you can see here between, which one should I show on? So here's the serged edge and the not serged edge. This stays all nice and woven so that, or all together, whereas the non-finished edge is going to start to unravel in the wash. Or you'd have to finish this on a regular sewing machine by turning it, and then you'd have this big kind of hump. Instead, you've got this nice flat serged edge. So there's lots of uses for the serger once you kind of start to, oh yeah, compared to like just using them for making t-shirts or sewing on knits. I've seen people quilting with the serger, doing their binding or their sandwiching with the serger because it's so fast and literally you're encapsulating everything all at once and finishing that seam. So the serger is really, really handy. They liken it to the microwave in the kitchen. You probably wouldn't get rid of your stove, your sewing machine, but once you have a microwave, boy, it's handy and fast and really makes quick work out of most projects. So that's how we would kind of categorize the serger and what else you can do with it. In the manual, it'll also tell you how to like flat lock stitch and do a picot edge. Those are some of the less commonly used stitches on a serger, but rolled hem, using it for wovens and for knits are the primary use. Leslie. Anything else before we wrap it up? Well, thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate you guys spending an hour with me and watching me make these leggings. I'm gonna take that patch off the back calf and take these leggings upstairs and see who wants to fight for them. Tune in Sunday night on TSC. We'll have lots and lots of sewing inspiration, and most of the day Monday on the shopping channel in Canada also. Until then, you can leave comments here or shoot me a message on Instagram or on Facebook. All right, we'll see you later, guys. Bye.